My name is Charles Montgomery and I'm a master watchmaker, and I'm about to prepare to service this Elgin pocket watch, and I'll take you through step by step how to take it down, service, change mainspring, clean, and put it back together and get it running again. Here we go. First, what we're going to do is remove the crystal, and the crystal is just put on by pressure, but the original crystals are glass, not plastic, and they're easy to break, so you have to be very careful with those. Now we have to align the hands so we can take them off, and like that, and we have a special tool that will grab the hands with a little plastic so we don't scratch the porcelain face, and should go down something like this. And we set the hands down. We have a smaller hand, the second sub hand in the bottom. Sometimes we can grab it and sometimes we have to use small screwdrivers, but we were able to get it. And now that the hands are off the dial, we don't have to worry about messing the hands or bending them. And we can proceed to the back of the watch. The back of the pocket watch has a dust cover, which is very nice. A lot of the pocket watches don't have those. And what we need to do now is remove the movement from the case. And first we have a couple of screws that we have to get out on the side casings. And they just get us half turn, which will release the sides. And we have a release screw at the top here for the setting stem and crown. And we should be able to pull that all the way out. And the dial, without hurting it, should come out. Sometimes they've been in there for over 100 years, so you have to give them a little tug. And let's see if we can get it to release. There we go. And there's the shell of the pocket watch, which leaves us with the movement with the dial. And we're going to next remove the dial. We have some peta wood cork for a stand to hold it after we take out the dial. There should be some side screws. And we're going to take out probably 3 on an Elgin. Sometimes they only have 2 and some have 4, but most of them will have 3 small set screws on the sides. And that will allow us to now raise the dial up. And movement and dial. These are the 3 feet that it connects to the dial. Now we're going to remove our hour hand gear. Now we can turn the pocket watch dial down and work on it. We have tension in the mainspring, which is under this gear here. We have to release the tension. And when there's no more tension, we can unscrew it and remove it. Okay, so we have to unscrew these screws to get the bridge over the mainspring barrel. And now you can see we have the mainspring barrel. Okay, so now let's put the bridge back on the watch so we can clean it. Okay, we're going to make sure the balance, which is this wheel here, still moves freely. With a little pressure to act like my hand is the spring, and it's running fine. Now we'll take it off for cleaning. Let's open up the mainspring barrel so we can clean it on the inside. Take out the arbor that's connected to the spring. Here's the new spring that'll go in after we clean the movement. Now with these pieces like this, we can now take it to the cleaner. Okay, so now we're going to get our parts and get it ready for the cleaning basket. The movement always goes dial side up, but before you put it in the cleaner, you have to make sure the side set screws that hold the dial are all the way back in, or they'll vibrate out and you'll lose it. Have a special spring-loaded holder so the movement doesn't bounce around inside the cleaning machine. And we get that locked in like that. Now we need to put some of the smaller parts into a cleaner. Okay, so now we got the movement out of the cleaner along with the mainspring, barrel, arbor, and balance. Everything is clean, but we still need to clean the balance a little bit more. That's the spring above the balance wheel. So we've got some cleaner called One Dip, and we need to gently soak the spring inside. Get it all swished down there, and this gives the spring a very dry and clean contact point, so nothing sticks to the spring. If the spring sticks, the pocket watch will run fast. And that is the old spring right there. Now we have to put a little grease inside the mainspring barrel. Just put a little bit on the bottom, doesn't take much. Get it on the sides. When the spring expands, it'll swirl everything around. And in the watch industry, we always say color is up. When the color is up, spring is right. It should drop right into there, and you push it straight in like so. And you've inserted the spring. So now that the spring is all inside, nice and tight, we need to put in the spring arbor. And give it a good look over here. Make sure everything is nice and clean on it before we put it inside. And I'm making sure nothing is catching or sticking. Once I have it lined up, I have a special tool. It's a block that'll allow me to put it in. Okay, so after you get the arbor set inside the mainspring barrel, you want to make sure and put a little bit more grease on the spring before you close it up. Just a little bit on each side. Too much and it'll squirt out all over inside the watch when you're done. Okay, so that's all we need to do there. But put the top back on and then reinsert the mainspring barrel into the pocket watch. Never force anything. Make sure everything is free and clear, and reinsert the screws. Okay, And we'll tighten that down just finger tight, not to over tighten anything. At this point we have to put a little bit of oil. Some oil just to add just a little bit right where the screw is going to connect with the top gear. The name of the game here is precise oiling and not over oiling. Looks good. And now we're going to put our top. Now we can put our top screw on. And we're just going to give it a few turns and make sure that the spring is caught on the arbor, and we'll wind the watch. And you can feel it when it catches, it just clicks right on. Okay, now that we've installed our mainspring and everything's good there, we're going to turn our attention to the balance and make sure everything is working properly and get ready to lubricate some of the pinion points before we install it. This is going to be the moment of truth. If we did everything right, after we install this, the watch should just start running. It's got to fit just so in there. It's like threading a needle. And we're going to slowly see if we can coax it in there, and voila, it looks like we have some success. Alright, so now the next step we need to do is make sure that everything's oiled properly. We're going to turn it over. Unscrew the side screws so we can put our dial in. We screwed them in so they wouldn't fall out in the cleaner. And we have to remember we have the second hand is at the bottom, which is going to go right here. Let's make sure we get this just right. Okay, that's going to line up just fine. Now we can go ahead and put on our hour wheel that we took off when we were disassembling. And that should just snap right back in. We have a little tension piece here to keep the hour wheel on in one place. Everything is seated. Now we're going to tighten those same screws up and lock down that dial. Okay, and as we check everything, you always want to make sure that balance is still moving just fine. Everything seems to be working. We're going to give it a squirt of air and set our hands. The little second hand goes on first. Looks good. We have an outside ring to put on for safety. Keeps kind of the dust out of the holes for the screws. It just slides right on like this. Okay, everything is working perfectly. Now we can assemble into the case. We'll just let gravity help us slide it in. All the while it's running, and now it's in. We're going to lock it in with the setting crown and stem, and then we're going to turn it over, and we have our little screws that are going to keep it in place. 2 of them. One here. And the other one down here. There. There's our pocket watch, all reassembled. Make sure the hands don't touch before we put the crystal back on. 1 o'clock, 2, 3, and around. Everything has good clearance above the sub-dial second hand. And back to 12. Lock it in. You have to be very careful not to apply too much pressure, or you will crack or break this very thin crystal. And it just snaps into place. It has a cutout notch at the top. And there we go. Pull it back out to set. Nothing touching. And we look great. Finished. Done.